The story begins with a man entering an old woman's room and falling in love with her. At the same time, this man remembers his childhood when he used to play drums for many people. Let's start the story from that man's childhood. The movie opens with three mischievous students talking about girls. One student says that he's no longer interested in girls. Then the second student asks, "So what do you want now?" The middle student, Tony Berger, bursts out, "I'm now interested in aunties. I've fallen in love with my school teacher, Mrs. Mary." By coincidence, at that moment, teacher Mary walks in. When the other students see her, a rush begins to watch her because Mrs. Mary is very beautiful and hot. After seeing her, Tony Berger openly confesses his love for his own teacher. Mary gets angry and scolds him in front of everyone. She punishes him by making him do chores at school for a month. But later, Mary secretly realizes that even though she scolded Tony in front of everyone, she actually accepts his love. She comes to meet Tony in class when he's chewing gum. Mary asks him to give her the gum because gum isn't allowed in class. Tony takes the gum out of his mouth and gives it to Mary. She puts the gum into her own mouth and looks at Tony carefully. Tony starts feeling that maybe Mrs. Mary likes him too, and it turns out he was right. Mrs. Mary takes Tony to her cabin, and their love story begins there. Soon, Mrs. Mary starts giving Tony extra classes after school, and after school hours, they spend time together and express their love. Days pass like this. One day, there's a school function going on. Behind the stage, Tony and Mary are expressing their love. Nobody in the school knows about it. Suddenly, loud noises come from behind the stage, and everyone's attention shifts to the stage. When the curtain lifts, Tony and teacher Mary are caught in an intimate moment with the whole school watching. Mary feels embarrassed and quickly wraps herself in the school flag and runs away. But Tony doesn't care. He steps onto the stage, and all the boys start clapping for his act. Tony's name is loudly cheered, and even the teachers are happy with his boldness. To everyone, Tony becomes like a hero because at his young age, he did something amazing with Mrs. Mary. Tony feels proud and raises his hand in victory. After that day, Tony and Mrs. Mary become famous. Several months later, Mary's health deteriorates. Because of this, Tony and Mrs. Mary are summoned to court. When the judge learns that Mrs. Mary he gets angry at Mary and sentences her to 30 years in prison. Mary starts regretting because she had understood Tony to be something, but he turned out to be something much more. When Mary is taken from court to prison, Tony shouts that he loves Mrs. Mary very much and will always wait for her. Because of this, Tony's father punches him and tells him to be quiet. Tony Berger has become famous. Boys of his age consider him a mentor. People start giving him money as gifts, and his personal life gets featured in interviews. Many years pass, and Tony becomes a very rich man. But after getting rich, Tony becomes a careless father. He stops taking good care of his son. One day, because of Tony's negligence, his son leaves him and goes away. A few days after his son leaves, Tony falls into debt. He has no money left. One day, his friend Gene, who is a lawyer, tells Tony that he has never paid taxes in his life, and now his tax debt has reached $43,000. If Tony doesn't pay the government, he will have to go to jail. Hearing this, Tony started sweating profusely because he had only $20 left in his account. He didn't know what to do. Angry, he began smashing a chair nearby. Seeing this, Gene stopped him and said, "I'm going to tell you a way to make money." Then Gene showed him a picture of a fat man. Gene explained, "This guy is going to run in a race, and if you bet on him, you'll make an $8,000 profit, as long as this guy somehow wins the race." Tony said, "Bro, don't joke with me. This guy can barely walk on the road properly." But under Gene's pressure, Tony placed his $20 on the fat man and then went to a club to earn more money. There, while sitting and reading the newspaper, Tony saw that his son had become very rich and was about to get married. His son had even changed his name to Todd. Tony got an idea to get back that $20 and went to the news channel office to collect his money. At the office, the receptionist lied to Tony, saying, "The boss isn't here right now." The boss's name was Brendan. The staff lied because Tony had borrowed money from the office many times before. Tony's hope broke. Just then, Tony's childhood friend Vanilla Ice, famous rapper, showed up. When Tony asked to borrow money, Ice told Tony that he was also struggling because he had gotten married too soon and his wife took all his money and divorced him. Ice added, "Even if I had money, I wouldn't give it to you because once when we were kids, you didn't lend me money and you messed around with my mom." Tony replied, "Actually, your mom was the one who proposed love to me first." Hearing this, Ice got angry and knocked Tony down. A big commotion started, and hearing it, Randall, who had been hiding nearby, ran outside. Seeing Randall, the fight stopped, and Tony began asking Randall for money. But Randall made a condition. "If you want money, you have to arrange a meeting between your son and your wife, Mary, the one in jail, in front of cameras. I'm ready to pay $50,000 for this. Because now, no one wants to see your lifestyle anymore. They want to see how you introduce your son to your wife, teacher Mary." After hearing this, Tony set out to meet his son. His son had come to his father-in-law Steve's house house to celebrate his engagement party and was very happy with his life. Tony got excited seeing his son and said, "Introduce me to the people here." His son introduced Tony as an old friend. Although Tony felt bad hearing this friend label, he went along with it and told everyone he was his son's old friend who had once saved his life. Tony lied to protect his son, not wanting anyone to say anything bad about him. Tony's son wasn't any less of a liar. He had told his father-in-law that he was an orphan. Later, when his son went into a room, he immediately asked, "Why did you say you're an orphan?" Todd said, "When have you ever given me a father's love? You never raised me well. Because of your negligence, I got many illnesses. I get scared even by small things." After hearing this, Tony couldn't say anything. That was where he stayed at the engagement party. There, a man recognized him and told his wife, "This is the same Tony who took his school teacher on a trip to the moon." As soon as he said this, everyone recognized Tony, and soon Tony mingled with the crowd. Tony had been mischievous since childhood. Driven by his habits, he went into his son Todd's father-in-law's room and started searching for some hot magazines. But there was nothing special there. Still, Tony couldn't fall asleep without seeing something. As he looked around the room, his eyes landed on a photo of Todd's mother's mom in her youth. He saw that the pictures of her younger self were very beautiful. Tony enjoyed looking at those photos and then, tired, fell asleep right there. When the old lady came back to her room from a party, she saw that the room was a complete mess. All her clothes were scattered everywhere. She shouted on seeing Tony. Todd came there too. The old lady gave Tony a handkerchief and asked what was inside it. Todd lied, saying Tony had a cold and told the old lady to go to the other room, promising he would take care of everything. Sometime later, all the family members got ready and went to church. At church, the priest asked Todd about his father. Todd bluntly said in front of his father, "Don't talk about my dad. He was a terrible man, and he's not in this world anymore." Hearing this was like a blow to Tony. The priest also got angry at Todd's words and took Todd outside to play the band. The priest used to be a wrestler and had once accidentally killed someone during a match. Since then, he had given up wrestling and become a priest. Seeing Todd's band playing, Tony hit the priest on the head with a bottle, and the priest fainted. After that, everyone returned home. The next day, the family went to a party, but when Tony arrived, he realized it wasn't a party, it was a massage parlor. Tony felt hurt by this, so he told everyone, "Come with me, I'll take you to a place that will truly make you happy." Tony took them to a club full of beautiful girls. He told everyone, "This is what real fun feels like." Todd also enjoyed being there. Todd drank a lot. Tony wanted to make his son happy somehow, so he left the others and took everyone else home by car so he could take his son to meet his mother. He took Todd to Vanilla Ice's place. Seeing Tony, Vanilla Ice happily became Tony's friend again. Tony then started introducing his son Todd to his old friends. The two of them started having a lot of fun together. Tony thought about how he had done nothing for his son in childhood, so now he was trying to make up for his mistakes. Todd also started understanding his dad Tony, that Tony was a good man. They drank together and then headed home. When they got home, they went to their respective rooms. When Tony entered his room, the old lady came in wearing a nightgown. Tony was surprised to see her. She said, "I know you enjoyed looking at my pictures that day, but today I've come to love you." Tony thought for a moment after seeing her, but his old habits still troubled him. So he mistook the old lady for a young woman and made love to her. Meanwhile, when Todd went to his room drunk, he didn't even realize he was making out with a mannequin. The next morning, Todd's fiancée started screaming in the room because Todd had thrown up rice pudding all over the bed during the night. Hearing the noise, Tony, who was in the next room, came over as well. But Tony walked in wearing the old lady's nightgown, shocking both Todd and his fiancée. Todd began to suspect that Tony had only come around for money. Tony, trying to calm him, admitted that yes, it was true he had originally come for money. But after feeling Todd's love, he'd forgotten about the money and now genuinely wanted to stay with him. Tony got emotional while saying all this, and Todd, wanting to make his dad happy, started to accept him. The next day, Todd decided to go alone to visit his mother in prison. When Tony found out, he was shocked. This news also reached Randall, the reporter from the news channel. Everyone ended up going to the prison to see Madam Mary. Hearing that her son had come to meet her, she walked out with a new sense of pride. Seeing her son made her incredibly happy. Mary still loved Tony too, and from behind the glass, she began making loving gestures toward him. But since Todd was also there, the gestures didn't last long. Just then, Randall arrived with his camera crew and started recording the three of them. When Todd protested, Randall told him, "Your dad Tony made a deal with me. He promised to reunite you with your mother in front of cameras for $50,000. I paid for this." Todd got furious with Tony and stormed out, thinking his dad had sold him out. But in truth, Tony had never called Randall. Later, when Tony returned home, he saw Todd's fiancée talking flirtatiously on the phone with someone. This made Tony believe that she was cheating on Todd. Wanting to protect his son, Tony went to tell him about Jenny. But as soon as he did, Jenny interrupted and said she had only been discussing a script idea with someone. She was planning a surprise for Todd. Todd. Believing his fiancée, Todd once again misunderstood his dad and felt more ashamed of him than ever. Todd started thinking that his dad was just trying to break up his marriage. Tony was deeply hurt and decided he would go and apologize to Todd's mom, Mary. But just as he entered Jenny's room, he saw her making love to someone else. Tony quickly barged in and took a photo of them. Now the truth about Jenny was out. Tony told her he was going to reveal the truth to his son. Terrified, Jenny offered Tony $50,000 to keep quiet, but Tony walked out without saying a word. The next moment, Jenny and Todd's wedding ceremony had already started. Tony, along with Vanilla Ice, rushed in to stop the wedding. There, Tony told Todd to call off the marriage. Todd got angry and asked his father, "Why are you ruining my happiness?" Tony replied, "This girl has trapped many men. She even had an affair with your boss." At that point, Jenny lost her temper and confessed everything. Todd broke off the relationship and left. As Tony was leaving, Todd's boss started mocking him. But Tony said, "I also hooked up with your mom," and the boss was left speechless. Now Todd began to trust his father again. The next day, Tony found out that the fat man had actually won the race, and now Tony was going to receive $120,000. Tony's life had completely changed, and with that, the movie ends.